Okay, sounds good. Okay, so thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining the session. So we're going to talk a little bit about career coaching using the IAT tools. So I know like all of you are like masters of these tools right now, and career coaching is a very specific niche of like life coaching, which is catered to the career area of your life. It's pretty very similar to life coaching, but also it's different. So it's important to understand the similarities and differences and how we can apply all these tools for in the career coaching scenario. So that's like pretty much the agenda for today. I'm going to talk about what career coaching is and certain aspects of career coaching that is important for us to know, and then how we can apply these tools for career coaching setup. Cool. Okay. So the first question is like, why career coaching? Why do we need career coaching? I think most of you would know like the answer for it, because career is a very important aspect of our life, right? Just like any other relationship, the relationship that you have with your job or with your career is very, very important. We spend quite a lot of time, like almost like majority of the people spend at least 40 hours of their week at their work, from home or from office. We don't know, but they spend quite a lot of time working on their career. So we should have a good relationship with the career so that we can have happy and healthy life. And it also, like, you should think about like in this way also, like when you have a happy career, it affects the other areas of your life, and when you have a very disastrous career, it affects the other area of your life. It's like, I would say, one of the most important relationship in your life, the relationship with your career. So, and career coaching is a very niche form of coaching, and if it makes sense, it is one of the highest paid areas of like life coaching, because you basically help another person to make improvements in their career in terms of like making money or making progress in their life. So which probably that is the reason why career coaching is like paid more than other types of coaching. And also career coaching is like different levels, right? It can start from just mentoring somebody to enter into a career to CEO leadership level of coaching. So that is a wide variety of options that is available in career coaching, and it is up to you to pick what kind of career coaching niches. It's again like there are like niches within career coaching also, and you can pick your favorite one, like, and where you resonate the most. Like, we're going to talk about different stages of career in later slides, so that'll give a little more clarity about what might fit for you the best. Before even getting into like career coaching, I think it's important for us to understand the difference between a job and a career. A lot of people don't really understand the difference, and a lot of people don't even have like a proper career plan. It's mostly job plans, like, so what is a job? Job is the work that you do to make money, to meet your basic needs, typically with short-term goals. So it's basically your basic needs, like, food, shelter, something like that. Like basically something that pays your bill is what is a job, and it doesn't have to have like a proper training or a educational background to have a job. Anyone can have a job. But when you talk about career, it's slightly different. It is actually a combination of multiple jobs that you did in your entire professional career. So someone can start their career as a bartender, maybe in their high school or maybe in their college. And then, like if you think about Thais, right? Like she started her career as a bartender, and she did like a bunch of other jobs. And now she's like she's like a therapist, and now she's doing the school. She's a teacher now. She's not a therapist. So she did multiple jobs throughout her professional life, but her career was all about like personal development and helping other people, right? And also educational background. That is also another thing that is very important. You need to have certain careers, you need to have like specific education background. Certain careers, you don't need it. Like, it really depends on the career that you're gonna choose. And also, it's not just what you do for work. Sometimes your extracurricular activities can also become a part of your career. Like, I know, like, most of us, a majority of us, joined PDS for our own healing. It became a part of our life. And now we are kind of like building a career out of this side additional thing that we did, right? So it did play a major role in building this career in all of our lives. So it's important to understand the career, and career usually will have a growth plan. So that is why the differentiating job and career becomes more important. Job might or might not have a growth plan for you. I'm doing this, I don't know, maybe a data entry job, and that's a job. What is a growth plan for you? You don't have that growth plan if you're not really intentional about it. But whereas like when you talk about a career, I'm doing data entry job right now. Now I want to get into analytics in some time. Now I want to manage people in some time. Now you're talking about a career plan, right? So it's important to think about even like not just for doing career coaching, even when you do like normal coaching, like as a coach, what is your career? So one-on-one coaching is a job, and career is something completely different. I mean, it's not completely different, but something wider. It's like job is just a subset of your career. So having this understanding is important, because sometimes people might come with like, hey, I'm having this, like, I don't like my job. Can you just help me with that? So you should like try to educate your client the difference between job and career, and you should basically help them to build a career, not a job. So when the client is approaching you, so that is why it's important to understand the career and job. Now, the client, and maybe like some of you also like will be looking for this like perfect career, like, right, like, and I want to build the perfect career for myself, which is in alignment with my personality needs and everything, which is really cool, right? Like Thais often talks about, if my job and my personality needs is in alignment, that is like so great. You will never feel like working any day. You'll be like enjoying every day of your work, and that is the ideal situation to be in. But when you pick a career, or when you pick a career for yourself, obviously your passion is important, your personality needs are important. The second part of your so you can see the Venn diagram, like you have your passion, you have your strength, and you have your market demand. You have the market demand. So your passion is your personality need, like what do you like doing, right? Like for example, if we take personal growth as an example, I'm very passionate about personal growth. Now you have to know what my strengths are. Like I might or might not have strengths in alignment with my passion. If I do have strengths which is an alignment with my passion, great. But if I don't have it, it's my responsibility to basically work on those strengths, to create to work on those skill sets to make it my strength. Because if I'm really passionate about personal growth, I should actually hone in my skills about like listening to people, observing human behavior, taking certifications or doing a degree, whatever it is, to basically strengthening your skills which are required for a professional profession which is in alignment with my personality needs. Then the third component is the market demand. Sometimes that is what the mistake that some people make. You're passionate about something, you're good at it, but the market doesn't need it. Like, for example, imagine the scenario of like a car engineer, like a car mechanic, right? So now the car mechanic is like expert in like maintaining and, basically make the car into a running state. But we all know that the world is pivoting to a electric car model. And in few years, we might not have gasoline cars. We don't know that. So if that happens, I love automobiles. I have all the strength to repair all the mechanical cars, but the market has suddenly shifted to electric cars. Now, what do I do with my passion and my strength? You can't really do anything because the market doesn't want automobile engineers or mechanical engineers all of a sudden. So you have to update your skills to make sure that your strengths are matching with the market demand. So you need to educate yourself to learn more about electric cars and electric car repair or design, whatever it is, right? So even when we are doing coaching, when you pick your niche, it's important for us to pick the niche which is in demand. Otherwise, you're not going to get money. Career is like one part of career is actually making money, right? And it's not just money, like you might not get customers, you might not get satisfaction. So it's important to go with the market strength, market demand also. Or if the market is not in demand, you can create your own niche. But you basically need to find a customer base for your product that you're offering. So the reason that I explained over here is not just to be, not just for us to understand, but also when a client is coming up with like, hey, I want you to help me with picking the best career for myself, you kind of like have to help the client in such a way that like help them identify their personal needs, basically help them to get the skill sets to get them to a position to get a job. At the same time, you also need to do some market research and help them to identify how these things are overlapping, and then, basically continue the coaching in that way. Next thing that I'm going to talk about is the career stages. Like earlier I explained, right? Like when you say career coach, it is like a different, there are different types of career coaches. So I'm going to like briefly describe the stages of career so that we are clear of what the requirement of a career coach in different stages. And then, if you resonate with one of these things, you can pick your niche. So the first thing is exploration stage. Exploration stage is pretty much like you're a student, you want to become like, I don't know, take an example, you want to become an engineer, you go to school to get an engineering degree, you're learning all the things, you're doing coding on the side, you're basically in school to polish your skills to get a job. So that is the exploration part of your career. Establishment looks more like your first long-term job. So in the exploration stage, you might have like college education happening, or you might have certifications and trainings, internship, all those kind of things. You have it in your plate. But when it comes to establishment, that pretty much means that this is like your first job and probably the first 10 years of your job. Like you're basically trying to establish yourself in a company or a business that you started. You are polishing your skills, you're learning new skills, you're understanding how the company works, how the organization works, what kind of career plan that you have. So pretty much the early stages of your career. Mid-career is more like we talk about midlife, right? It's very similar to that. It's mid-career is where you either will be more like the most productive or the most enjoyable part of your career. Like you've done enough work in the establishment and exploration part, you've done enough work, and now you're in a position to basically get things done. Like this is the best part of your career if you choose the right career. But sometimes what happens is like is in this mid-career, people might have mid-career crisis. You suddenly realize that you are not really enjoying the career anymore. This is the wrong career that you chose. So those kind of things can happen in mid-career. The late career is more like you become the senior person in the company or in the organization that you're working for. Your productivity typically will decrease at this stage because with age, like sometimes like productivity decreases, but you are in a position with like a lot of experience, and you're in a position to basically mentor other people, teach other people, uplift other people who are in the other like the lower levels of their careers. So that is a late career stage. And then comes the decline. Decline is more like there is an age gap that they mention about, age range that they mention in these stages. I completely don't buy that, because I don't think like age should be like a factor which can define all these things. Like some people actually won't take like 10 years in their establishment stage before reaching mid-career. But typically they say that 15 to 25 is like exploration, 25 to 35 is establishment, 35 to 45 is mid-career, 45 to 55 is late career, and 55 above is decline. This is more like, so we talked about all of the other stages. The last stage is decline. Decline is more like right before your retirement. You're making retirement plans, how to basically make the exit plan, how to hand over everything that you have to the younger employees. So that's what happens in a typical person's career. And you should also understand that this is just like a framework. You can have a fresh start to a new career at any point in your life. Like a lot of us are actually starting, kind of, maybe some of us are in the establishment stage, some of us are in the exploration stage of personal development and coaching, right? So you can have multiple careers in your life. That's completely okay. But this is a typical cycle of career. And that is exactly why I said I don't believe in like age, because you can always, like they say that 35 to 45 is a mid career, but you can always start a new career at the age of 45. Nobody is like stopping you from that. So yeah, the reason that I explained all these things is because when a client is approaching you, it's important for you to understand what the client is expecting from you. So for somebody at the exploration stage, their needs might be completely different from someone at the mid-career stage, or their problems also might be very different. Exploration stage, typically people need help from like, hey, I want you to help me figure out the right career for me. How do I prepare for interviews? I'm very anxious about giving interviews. How do I do that? Can you like review my resume? These are the questions that a student or a fresh grad would ask you. But whereas when it comes to like mid-career, I'm like, oh, I don't know. I don't really like my job right now. I want to do some soul searching, like before I feel like, before I move to the next stage of my life. Those are the questions, or those are the problems that a person at mid-career would present to you. And the way you approach also would be different, right? Like when you're working with someone in their early 20s, they have like all the energy and they want solutions to be done. They don't have the patience sometimes. I'm not like generalizing, but typically that is how it is, right? Like you have a lot more energy. But whereas when it comes to mid-career or late career, they have a lot of wisdom that came from all the experience that they gained throughout throughout their career, and they want a different approach to coaching, right? So it's important for you to understand what stage they are and what exactly they need from you. So you typically have this conversation in your first one-on-one coaching session, like they understand where they are and what they are expecting and what their intentions are through that what do they want to achieve through coaching in the first session itself, so that you can make a plan for your coaching sessions. So typically, so I briefly explained about like these stages, but typically, like when it comes to like career coaching, the expectations from the client are usually like, to build a successful career, navigating career opportunities, interpersonal relationships, then finding a meaning in career. That is more like people who are like doing the soul searching, right? At certain age, you're like, I don't feel this work is meaningful to me. I'm just like working for this organization. I don't want to do this. I want to find the meaning of my life and what I want to do to society. Those kind of like people, and believe like that's what I read in like blogs and other people's experiences, that there are a lot of people who are doing this soul searching and all that. That is typically the time when you do career complete like pivot in your career and all that, and when you are in that stage. And then some people will have like fears and blockers. So pretty much like limiting beliefs and core wounds, which are blocking them from achieving their goals. Some people might have problems with work-life balance. So that's a very common thing that career coaches might have. And the big moves, like somebody wants to switch jobs, or maybe completely change a career, start a new business, moving to another country, going back to school. So like these are like big changes that they are making in their life, and they want like some support, extra support to make these big changes. So these are the typical scenarios where somebody will opt in for a career coaching. And like this is like a very small list. This is like the typical or the most common occurrences, but there can be multiple reasons for somebody to take a career coaching session with you. So now, so this is what the client is expecting from you. Now, as a career coach, what are you like, this is more like a action plan kind of a thing for all the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Like, as a career coach, you pretty much like help them to understand their personality needs and career goals, obviously reprogramming their limiting beliefs, and sometimes improving their communication style, right? It can be both interpersonal or public speaking. Like somebody who is in a leadership position, who is very scared of like having who is very, who have a huge stage fright, and you're kind of like helping them to, you're not giving them public speaking training, but more like if there are like limiting beliefs and fears that are holding them back from giving a public speech, you kind of like work with them to break that limiting beliefs. Sometimes you might have to work with people who are looking for a promotion or a salary negotiation. The help that they are expecting from you is basically, hey, I want to have this conversation with my manager, and I want to like, I did not get a promotion for the next like last 5 years. I'm too scared to have a conversation. Can you help me with that? So it basically rules down to like some limiting beliefs and all that, but still like the objective that the client is expecting from you is basically a salary negotiation or a promotion conversation. And obviously the soul searching that I mentioned about earlier. Sometimes they want to like develop skill sets through career coaching. So that can include like a number of skill sets. Sometimes people would be like, hey, I was an individual contributor in my company. I recently got promoted to a manager role. I struggle to work with people. I want to improve my soft skills and people management skills. Can you help me with that? So that is a particular skill set that you're developing. Sometimes what happens is like if you have a niche, like for example, I worked as a data engineer. I still work as a data engineer. So sometimes people will come to me and like, hey, what are the new things that I have to learn to get a career in data science, data engineering or data science. So that is a very specific thing for my career. So sometimes if you have a very already established career, people from your similar career might approach you to kind of like help them with skill set development and all that. So, and it can be both like soft skills and job related skills. Sometimes you have to review their resume, cover letter, and LinkedIn profile, because this is usually true for people who are in the early stages of their career. When you apply for a company, the company get like hundreds and thousands of resume, right? And the first stage of getting a job is actually your resume getting picked from the pool of like 100 resumes, and you need to have a good resume and a call letter and a LinkedIn profile for your resume or for your profile to get picked in the beginning. And as a career coach, you're expected to kind of like review their resume, cover letter, LinkedIn profile, give them feedback, and give them actionable feedback so that they get picked in the first round of interview. And then sometimes people might ask for interview training. It can include actual interview training. Like, for example, if you're interviewing for a role of, like, say, again, in my profession, like data engineering, they might ask you for a actual data engineering interview. If you're providing that kind of an interview, you can help them with actual mock interviews, or you can suggest like people who are doing mock interviews in the area that they are looking for, or you can even like give coaching for like how to prepare for an interview. That is not really related to a particular job. It's more like, if you are someone who is like very nervous right before an interview, you're like basically teaching them how to regulate yourself like right before the interview, how to prepare for an interview, how to divide the time for the preparation and all that. So more like behavioral changes. So you can do that, which is very much catered to the interview part of a job hunting. So, and also like emotional regulation, right? That people can feel dysregulated emotionally throughout their career without any trigger. That is definitely there. So if somebody's coming with like anxiety or depression throughout their career, that is definitely one area that you can help with. Or people can come up with like certain specific instances in their life, like someone might be experiencing a burnout, or like nowadays, like layoffs are a very common thing in the Bay Area, right? So thousands of people are losing their jobs. So someone like losing a job is equivalent to losing someone that you love, right? And it's a grief that they are experiencing. And you definitely, your emotions will be not regulated, and you can help them with that. The third thing is like toxic work culture. Obviously, we all know that if you have a very controlling toxic work culture, that will affect your nervous system. So you can basically help them to regulate their nervous system using the different tools that we learned in PDS. And imposter syndrome, this is a very, very common thing. And it's a funny thing that imposter syndrome is most common with high performing employees. So you can see imposter syndrome and burnout kind of goes hand in hand, because it's usually the high performing employees who are feeling that they're not doing a good enough job coming to work, and they don't feel good enough, they overwork, and then they burn out. So it's like a cycle that is happening. So if somebody comes with imposter syndrome, the first thing that you do is like basically emotional regulation. So these are some of the ways or some of the tools that you can use apart from the PDS, like specific tools to help with the client with career coaching. Is this like clear? Like as of now, is everything clear? Do you have any questions as of now? Like now we are getting into the actual like making the plan for our career coaching. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask like right now. Cool. I don't see anyone talking, so I hope it's okay. Let's go to the next slide. So OKRs for career coaching. You don't have to worry about what the fancy OKR name is. It's OKR means objectives and key results. So I think the main difference between like life coaching and career coaching is that like career coaching always, most of the time, has like an objective, or the client always have an objective with them. Like life coaching also is like that, but sometimes a client can come to you and like, hey, I just want to feel better. That's my objective, and you're not really making a change in their life which is like measurable. Feeling good is not really measurable. You definitely feel good, you feel confident and all that, but it's not something that can be measured by using standard techniques. But when it comes to career coaching, that is not how it is. Like usually people have an objective. I want to get promotion, I want to switch my career, I want to have this conversation with somebody. They're very clear about what they want to achieve with the career coaching. If your client is not clear about what they want to achieve with career coaching, it is your responsibility to actually have a conversation with the client and make it like more measurable. Because one thing is that like career coaching will not become successful if the client is not really participating with you, right? So I mean, that is true for any coaching, but especially in career coaching, like it's not about feeling better, it's not about having like peaceful life and all that. I mean, that is also part of it, but it should be like measurable. So that is why having this OKR kind of approach is helpful in terms of career coaching. And this is something which I do in my practice. It doesn't mean that everybody has to do it, but this is a good way to kind of like measure whether you are doing the right thing for the person. Are you really making an impact on this person's behavior or not? So you need to have like an objective and key results. So objective is, it's more like, this is my goal, this is what I am trying to achieve with this client through the session. And the key results are like how you're basically achieving that goal. So like I've given this example that I will blah, 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 as measured by blah, blah, blah. So, and I've given like, you need to have like a career OKR plan for you as a coach and for the client. So I'm just like walking you through the example so that it becomes a little more clearer. So for example, a client is coming, like let's call the client maybe Bob. Bob is coming to me, and he's just like telling that I've been working in the same company for the past 5 years, and they have not really given me a raise, and I want to get a raise because things are expensive now, and I'm very frustrated, and blah 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 blah. This Bob is actually giving you a lot of explanation. Now, as a career coach, like you kind of like pick up 1, 2, or 3 objectives. I recommend not go beyond the 3 objectives for you, because when you have too many goals to achieve with a client, it just becomes like too messy. So 1 to 3 is a very sweet number you can have. So yeah, so let's get back to Bob. Bob came, and Bob is like, like venting his emotion to me. I don't like this. My manager is not giving me the raise, and I don't like to work in this company. So from the discussion, after discussion with Bob, you kind of understood that Bob is really frustrated about not having enough money. He's not getting paid enough. That is his biggest worry at this moment. So for you as a coach and for Bob as a client, the objective is actually have or to get a hike is the objective of Bob for this session, right? But for you as a coach, you don't have control over whether Bob gets a hike or not. What you have control over is like you can encourage Bob to have a discussion with the boss for a salary hike. So that is your objective, to have a discussion with the manager for a salary hike. And we agreed on, like, say, 4 sessions. So within 4 sessions, Bob should be confident enough to have a conversation with his manager and ask for a hike. That is your objective. How are you going to achieve this objective is what is defined as key results. So the important thing that you have to understand about like key results is that key results is something that can be measured in some way. So when it comes to like coaching, it becomes slightly tricky because sometimes it's all about how the person is feeling, right? How do you measure how the person is feeling? It's kind of tricky, right? And of course, you can use your intuition and all that, but it becomes a little tricky. But as much as possible, try to have a measurable outcome that you're trying to achieve with the client. So yeah, so let's get back to Bob. And Bob is like having this anxiety attack because he's not able to ask for a salary increase. So as a coach, my objective is to help Bob with like 4 sessions, and my key results, the way I am going to achieve this objective is by using 3 things. One is educating Bob about like core wound reprogramming. Second thing is like teach nervous system regulation to Bob. And 3 is actually helping Bob to make a plan for the conversation to happen with the manager. So it can look like, so how do you like normally have a salary negotiation or a promotion talk? You basically go and tell the manager, hey, I've been working here for like the past 5 years, and these are the things that I've achieved in the past 5 years. And I think I deserve this X amount of X percent hike increase in my salary because I've done all these things. So this is a plan, right? So you have to do some sort of like research to come up with this plan. And Bob will go to the manager with this plan and have a conversation. That's how it works. So as a coach, you're helping Bob to make this, plan for himself to have a conversation with his manager. And you are not making, so that is an important thing. You are not making the plan. You're just helping Bob to make the plan. So this is your objective and this is your key results as a coach. It's important for you to have, it's important for Bob, the client, also to have an OKR when you are entering into a career coaching. It will be in alignment with your goal, but it is slightly different, right? Like, for example, I can only teach Bob about core wound reprogramming. So my key result is actually educating Bob about core wound reprogramming, but it is like Bob's objective or key result is to eliminate like 2 core wounds. Second is actually, I can teach about nervous system regulation, but Bob should be able to reduce his anxiety and bring down his anxiety scores. And third thing is like Bob should sit and write the plan for himself. I can review it, I can give suggestions, but Bob has to do it. I think this kind of an approach is very helpful in career coaching because you can actually quantify the impact that you're making for the client. And the client can also feel like satisfied at the end of the session, like, hey, yeah, this coach actually helped me to get this thing in my career. And because of that, I got like this much promotion or this much hike in my salary. So the client actually values the session in a very quantifiable way. And I think this, you can use it in like normal, like life coaching also. Like it's always good to have a plan, but especially in career coaching, it's important to have this kind of a plan. One thing that we all need to like understand, or the benefit of having a different plan for your client and for yourself, is that you have to measure like after 4. So my objective, like my OKR that is shown on the slide, is basically for a session, for a 4 week session, like 4 sessions basically. And I like at the end of the 4 sessions, I'm going to evaluate, like, did I actually do all these things? Did I do all the 3 things that I mentioned in my OKR with this client at the end of 4 sessions? Did the client make all these changes at the end of 4 sessions? Now you can evaluate. And it sometimes, people are people have different problems, and, some people might be like quicker to adapt to changes. Some people might be slower. It doesn't matter. At the end of the 4 sessions, you have like something to measure on, right? Like you already know, like eliminating core wounds. 2 core wounds was Bob's one of the things that Bob wanted to do, but he eliminated only 1 core wound, and that's okay. That's okay. So you know that at the end of the session, maybe you did not hit like everything, but you got like 80% of the result that you were planning to do in the beginning of the session. So you can basically say that the session is going in a successful direction, because yeah, there is improvement. But if it is not improvement, like, you basically educated Bob about like core wound reprogramming and nervous system regulation and everything. You're trying your best to come up with a plan, but Bob is not really participating, then probably that's not a right fit for you and for Bob. So that is how you evaluate whether the client is actually participating with you or not. And it is pretty important, right? It is pretty important. Like you are not wasting their time, and they are not wasting your time also. As a coach, it is your responsibility to measure whether the time that you're offering for the customer is actually fruitful or not. So that is why this OKR based approach is important. Like you don't have to like get scared about the OKR and all that. It's like a term that usually these big companies use to come up with their quarterly plan and half-yearly plan. But this is like, you can think about as goal setting and ways to achieve goals kind of a thing. So it's important for you to have a OKR for both client and for yourself. And you don't have to share your OKR with the client. It's for yourself. It's for you to evaluate the progress. For the client, you can share it with the client. This is what we're trying to do with, like, in the goal setting exercise that you do with the client, you can share it with them. But the coach, you don't have to share it with the client. That's all about like the general career coaching. Now I'm just gonna I'm not gonna spend too much time about like the tools, because all of us have done the course. Thais has taught us like how to use his tools in a very, very effective way. I'm not gonna describe every single thing, but I think some of the most important tools in terms of career coaching is obviously the goal and intention setting tool. I think you should use this tool in pretty much every career coaching session that you have. It's important for you to understand what this person is expecting out of the coaching session. Another thing is like needs discovery, obviously emotional processing tool, belief and core wound reprogramming, and communication and exposure work. A lot of people have confidence issues in terms of communication and exposure work in real careers, right? So this is a tool which will be very effective, especially if you have more avoidant leaning clients. This is going to be like very effective. And then practicing boundaries and nervous system regulation. It is very useful when a client is going through something on a day-to-day basis, like a very toxic environment, or the client had a very bad setback, or the client is like burning out or something like that. Anything which affects the functioning of the client, you should definitely go with like nervous system regulation over any other tool in the beginning. So this is just like a diagram that I have for myself to kind of like decide what tool to use when the client is coming with these kind of situations. And it is not really restricted to this approach. You can combine tools, and you can also use one tool for another setting. This is just like my plan for my own coaching, but you can be creative over here. But this is like the general thing, right? Anything which relates to core wounds and limiting beliefs and storytelling, it's always like reprogramming and auto-suggestion and questioning your stories. When it comes to like burnout and grief, which is like more of a nervous system and somatic processing kind of workout, you go with like emotional regulation, somatic processing, and boundaries. The boundaries becomes very, very important in burnout. Most people burn out because of the lack of boundaries. So that's why I included boundaries over there. But boundaries can come in anywhere, but it's majorly in the burnout section is when we need boundaries. And then when you have like a very confused client who do not have an idea about like what they need to do, and I don't know what to do and where to go, that is when like the needs tool becomes very, very important. And so that you're basically educating the client what their personality needs and what their career goal should be, So these are this is how I approach like career coaching and using the IAT tools. And yeah, and this is something which I have learned from, like, as I mentioned earlier, from my career and from my own research. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. We have some time left.
Thanks, Athira. Can I ask a question? Is that okay?
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I was just wondering, because this is an area I'd love to get involved with, but I was actually unsure sometimes on how to navigate someone through. Like, I know the toxic workplace culture has come up for a few friends in the industry, and myself certainly, and a few of the different things, they were helpful, but inevitably we all had to leave at some stage. I was just wondering if you had advice on, I guess navigating that specifically culture. I guess because I think that's one that just I was comfortable with a lot of the other ones, but then that one I just thought, I'm not quite sure, because there's so many variables to it. I just thought
so it's very interesting, right? Like when it comes to like toxic work culture and burnout and everything, there are two factors, the internal and external factors. So internal is your limiting beliefs, your core wounds and everything. So you do work on yourself to kind of improve your mental state. And there is also external factors. You can have a very controlling boss. You can have a narcissistic boss and very very bad behavior, a boundaryless boss or something like that. The way to navigate, so all the internal things, yes, you work on yourself. The second thing is like when it comes to external things, you try your best to kind of like set the boundaries. Like if it's like a very toxic work, so for example, somebody's asking you to work after 8 p.m. every day, then you can like, no, I can't do that. You set the boundary and try to see whether that is like changing. And also sometimes what happens is like your needs are completely unmet at your workplace and you're not happy. It creates all this like negative cycle. And you, after the needs exercise, you found your like top needs and see whether you can apply those needs in any form in the current work situation. You try your best from your side and sometimes ask for your needs. Like, for example, if I have a huge need for learning and growth, and if this company is not at all doing that for me, you can go to your manager and like, hey, I want to like learn new things. Can you like give me projects where I can learn new things? So basically advocate for your needs and see, it's like a relationship. Like you do your best, you communicate your needs, set your boundaries, do your internal work and see whether the needle is moving, whether the situation is like becoming better or not. Give it some time. It really depends on how much, like it really depends on the situation and for the person to decide on how much time you give for that. After that has been done, you understood that the needle is not moving. Now you have to make an exit plan. So in that case, there are multiple ways. Like if you have, it really depends on the career that you are into, right? So if there is a opportunity for you to quit the job and like immediately start something else, great, do it. Otherwise, you prepare for interviews like in parallel, right? You start giving interviews. You kind of like polish your skill sets parallelly. So if I were in that situation to like, I'm completely not happy with my work, I decided to switch my job. In that case, like, yeah, I'm going to work from say 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on my day-to-day job to get things done. And the rest of the day, maybe like 1 or 2 hours a day, I'm going to like prepare for interviews, polish my skills, apply for companies. So every day you allocate sometimes and you start giving interviews like in between. And then once you have an offer, you basically resign. That's what I would do. And every career is like slightly different, but TLDR, try your best, like reprogram all your internal issues, try setting boundaries, try your best from your to make it like a better place to work. If it's not happening, have a backup plan. Don't like quit completely and immediately and like, you know, cut off your, it's okay if you can do that. If you're in a good financial situation and you really want to take a break before joining a company, great, do it. Otherwise, like, this is what I would do so that your transition is like somewhat smooth. Does
Yeah,
that
no,
make sense?
thank you. Yeah, no, you broke that down really well. I think I understand, yeah, how to navigate it a bit more now, just with that internal, external, yeah, sort of
Yeah.
focus. That makes a lot of sense of how to, yeah, because you can't really manage sometimes the toxic environment around. You can only manage that person. So and then having that exit plan, like a relationship. So yeah, that does really make sense. Can I ask one quick question, or did you?
Yeah, sure.
The other one was, do you find with corporate, it is best to have those benchmarking like figures, like you were saying, anxiety scores? Like, do you use the DAS or I don't know, like a survey going in, a survey after? Like, is that useful for corporate for providing that quantitative measure?
Yeah, so I personally don't use any tool right now to measure anxiety per se, but
Okay.
like when you sign, so if you have a website for like booking your sessions and all that, there is like anxiety tests and all before every session, the client has to take it. So eventually I'll do that. That's my plan. So in that example, that's just like an example that I gave for myself. So for every salary promotion, that is not the key results that you should have. Like, it can change, but yeah, it's always good to have a quantifiable measurement. Like, it's hard to say how you're feeling, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know, somebody might can come and say that I'm feeling better, but they are not, and that's not really your responsibility to kind of uh, fix that. But your job is to help them the way they want. But yeah, so having all these measures will be helpful. So if you have a proper like, there are tools that therapists use, right? Like, before every session you take a test. How do you feel on a range of like 0 to 10? How do you feel anxious? How do you feel depressed and all that? So that score has to improve. So if it is not improving, yeah, that's your call. So so there are multiple, if you have a website, you can embed all these things to your website so that every client has to, or you can just ask the client, you know, that'll be this very simple, like maybe spend like 5 minutes before the session. Like, I would like to know how you're feeling this week. Like, you know, what is your anxiety score? And you have an internal graph.
Yeah, no, thank you so much, and thank you for the presentation. I really enjoyed that, and that, yeah, your answers are very clarifying, so I'll sit on that and think about it all. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question. How many are you doing, like the typical 12-week sessions that PDS usually recommends, or how are you breaking that up?
Yeah, I am doing I'm doing pro bono coaching right now because of some visa issues that I have. So I typically don't encourage, like, this is my way of approaching it. Like, I don't really force them to sign up for a 12-week course. I go with the client. The first session is more like exploration, and like the client explains like what they are expecting from me, and I kind of give them an overview of what I'll be offering, and then I ask them to sign up for another session if they're interested. And if I see the client is coming back, then I kind of like I go on a weekly basis, if that makes sense. Based on the progress, I ask them to book session or not. I do have a plan for myself. I don't enforce it on the client unless the client is like really sticking to me. Like, if their client is sticking to the coaching, then I share it, like the wider plan. But in the first 2 stages, I think the client wants to see rapid changes. At least the clients that I have worked with. I usually work with younger clients, like in their early 20s, so they want like things to happen quickly. So first 2 sessions, I just like give them very actionable insights, and then later I share it with them. So yeah, to answer your question, I do have an internal plan, but I go with a week. So sometimes people will show huge improvement, right? And maybe you don't need like 12 weeks, so then you cut it down. So yeah, I rely on my intuition than like a rigid plan. There's an overall plan, but it's not very rigid. Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Because I set mine up to start with like 12-week program and try to model Thais's thing, but I'm a little worried it's like too much time.
No, I mean, it's up to you, right? Like everybody has their own plan, and everybody, like I am not really considering this as an additional business at this point. I still work full time somewhere else. So I do it like after my work hours. So I can't really do too many things at one time. So that's like my personal scenario. But if you are, this is your full-time job, and you should optimize it for your plan. So yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Athira, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm curious, have you presented to a large group about like a workshop on kind of attachment, or like kind of what this career coaching is for a larger group?
No, this is my first presentation.
It was so good.
This is my first presentation. This is something I had a rough idea. I just like put it down on a presentation, and then I presenting it to you guys. And I want to do that. I don't know. So this is a very unique scenario for me. I do have visa issues, so I can't really just go and do it. So, but yeah, I haven't. I would like to, but I'm thinking about how to like do it in a way that it doesn't like take up too much of my time, and it's still useful for other people. So I'm thinking of doing sessions in universities and all that. So, college grads might find it useful, all these things. So that's like my rough plan, but I haven't done anything as of now.
That's interesting. I'm curious, like if you were, because I just put together a kind of like a detaching from the workplace presentation about attachment style, and it was really focused on like that PDF that Thais shared, that's like how the different attachment styles show up in the workplace. And then we just did like a quick exercise to like for everyone to figure out what their attachment style was, and then I ran them through just like the belief reprogramming exercise. But I'm wondering, when I was doing it, I was like, I don't know if this might be like too emotional for a workplace like environment.
I don't know. I mean, you can't say that, right? Like, because maybe like a session like that would be useful, because people don't really talk about emotions at their workplace. So if you are coming there as an external person and helping them to figure out their emotions, maybe that is useful.
Yeah.
So we can't just like, and also like I remember Thais mentioning in one of the I think like support webinars that people find it useful when you are like, hey, you are like this person, that person, this is happening to. So if you can like quantify it that way, people find it useful, especially in corporates. That was her opinion from her experience. Like if I can simulate, like if someone is doing that webinar for my company, I would appreciate it. Like I can't just go and tell my manager, I'm feeling this, and I think like this is the limiting belief that is pulling me from doing the work. I can't. So if someone is doing that for me, it'll be useful. So, and also you do this, right? Like you do, if I were in that situation, I would do like, I'll do like different versions of the same thing and see how the audience is responding. And then you kind of like improve from there.
I love that. Okay. Thank you.
Well, we have 2 more minutes. I mean, maybe like 5 more minutes if
Athira, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I have to drop off because I have a client, but I wanted to thank you so very much. This is really informative, and you're a very talented presenter, and I appreciate your time and energy putting it together.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Holly.
You're welcome. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Athira. This is really great.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So I will post it like in some time, maybe not immediately. So thanks for everyone. If there's no questions, we can like stop it and reach out to me on Facebook or something if you have more questions. And you can visit my website if you want more details about what I offer. It's called graymahout.com. Yeah.
Can you add it to the chat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Gray. Mahout.com. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I did personal message.
Oh.
Cool. And I'll add it in the Facebook thread as well, so that you guys can, check out my website and sign up for career coaching if you want to. I'm sure you guys don't really need it. You know all the tools like pretty well, but in case, yeah.
You can help us
this
with our niche coaching.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
what a big need for a lot of people.
Finding your niche, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's like so I mean, I actually missed, like, while explaining it, like when you figure out your strength and your passion and your market fit and all that, one thing that helps is like your niche, like, so you have like 2 or 3 different skills. So like, for example, like I worked as an engineer, so I have a lot of skills from engineering, and then personal development is something that I learned recently. And if you can combine that and cater it to an audience, which is like, and if I can combine skills from both sides, that'll be like unique. And all of us have like a career before PDS or something that they are an expert of. And if you can combine that with the PDS tools, it just becomes a niche. And that's how you create your own signature, right? Like if you are just like doing what everyone else is doing, you might not get that much attraction. But the moment you combine, like I've seen people combining like yoga and PDS, like IIT tools, like astrology and IIT tools. Some people are like doing Christian coaching plus IIT tools. So you just combine them and make your own niche. Like then that gets more attraction. And Thais often talks about like, you can't target like everyone at once. You have to pick your niche and just be good at it. And one way of doing it is basically figuring out your past experience and your skill sets and just applying IIT tools over there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great point.
Cool.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, Athira. Thanks so
Bye.
much.